We're in the holding area as the cars are forming up and ready to go out onto the grid for race 2. Graham Seeger's modified GTV starts at the front of the grid, ahead of the 2 Power Trophy cars of David Messenger and Paul Webster. It's over to Andy to take you through all of the race 2 action.
Yeah, thanks Lloyd. Well, much more favourable conditions today, thankfully. The sun is out, the track is dry. We're in for some good racing, I am sure. Graham Seeger is on pole position by virtue of winning yesterday's race. Dave Messenger alongside, ahead of Paul Webster and Keith Waite. Then the Twin Sparks, led by Tom Hill and James Ford, ahead of Andrew Bourke, Simon Creswell, Richard Ford, who's got the car repaired hopefully after yesterday's off, Stephen O'Brien and Martin Jones at the back. So, in the wet yesterday, we saw that it was very even between Graham Seeger and Dave Messenger. In the dry, will Seeger maybe be able to use the power of that GTV a little more to his advantage, or is Messenger going to be a thorn in his side once again? Let's find out then. As the green flag is waved, we're about to go racing for the second time, round number 6 of the BRSCC Alfa Romeo Championship here from Cadwell Park. Red lights go on, eventually they will go out and we'll be away and racing. Off they go, good start made from the second row of the grid by the looks of it, by Keith Waite there in the green Alfa 75, but it just doesn't have the power to live with the more modern machinery ahead of him. It will be the GTV then that leads them into the first corner. Graham Seeger holds on to the advantage. It looks like it will be Dave Messenger in second, who we are riding on board with now. The number 79 car, the Twin Sparks get away with another good start made by Tom Hill from pole position, and not such a great start on this occasion from James Ford, so he may be under pressure into the first corner by the silver and orange number 86 of Andrew Bourke. Richard Ford getting ahead of Simon Creswell too, side by side there for second place, bit of rubbing actually between the second and third place cars, and that will actually delay Andrew Bourke and allow James Ford to hang on to P2. So the Twin Spark cars in the background, the race leaders overall though, heading through Park Corner. There is Keith Waite's beautiful Alfa 75, which just, although it runs in the modified category, is nowhere near clearly as quick as the modified GTV of Graham Seeger that leads the race overall. Dave Messenger, though, hot on his heels. Now, in yesterday's race, it appeared that through the first half of the lap, the 156 GTA of Dave Messenger had an advantage. Through the second half of the lap, through the Hall Bends and the mountain section, that's where Graham Seeger's car was quicker. In the dry, though, that whole dynamic may well change. For the time being, they're pretty evenly matched, and in fact, Paul Webster going with them in third place as well. So 3 for the lead as they descend upon the mountain for the first time of asking. Get on the power as early as you can. The cars get very light, but not quite airborne over the top of the hill, past the packed spectator areas there on the top of the mountain alongside the Circuit Cafe. Very popular vantage point. You see lots of spectators and photographers taking advantage of the great viewing through the Hall Bends as well, and then down to the hairpin. Webster there is in third position, chasing down these two. David Messenger in second, and Graham Seeger, your race 1 winner, who's going to be your lap 1 leader in race number 2 as well. Across the start-finish line they go. The GTV stretching its legs across the start-finish line. 2 156 is behind, doing their very best to keep up at this stage of the race, I think. But Seeger is in pretty strong form this weekend at Cadwell Park, and you get the impression to get in this second race. Over the hill they go. You can see the speed visibly up compared to yesterday's wet race. The battle really is one for second place now, because Paul Webster is very much up for the fight here. Remember, he qualified on pole for the first race, but didn't manage to stay there for very long. Dropped down to third on the opening lap, and was never really quite able to keep up with the top 2. Towards the end of the race, he was getting quicker though. Set his personal best lap on the final lap of that red flag shortened encounter. But he ought to be able to maybe show a bit more of that qualifying pace now in these much more favourable conditions. Down through Mansfield, back into view. And again, through the first part of the lap, the lead gap comes down, but then they get to the Hall Bends, and that is where the GTV seems to excel. Tom Hill, by the way, still leading the Twin Sparks, with James Ford and Andrew Bourke dicing over second position. We'll get to that in a moment or two, I'm sure, but right now it is pretty tight between these leading 3. Graham Seeger once more leading the modified class. The Power Trophy battle behind, though, that fight for second place takes on extra significance because it is the fight for the class victory. Dave Messenger and Paul Webster first and second in the Power Trophy. car into the final corner. All of the cars looking a lot more settled on this occasion compared to the very treacherous conditions yesterday. Across the line then, red number 79 car of Dave Messenger in second place as they go on to the third lap of the race. On board with Dave now, real veteran of this championship, turns his way through Charlie's. Very smooth driving style that Dave Messenger has. We've spotted this before. Need maybe to find a little bit more speed here to hang on to second place, because Paul Webster is maybe close enough now to get a bit of a toe of the hill and challenge potentially for the class lead into Park Corner, but Messenger is good on the brakes. He still feels the need to defend a bit though. Look, drives down the middle of the road, and you can see as soon as you do that, you block the opportunity for a dive in either direction, either to the inside or the outside for the car behind, because it's such a narrow circuit here at Cadwell Park. Pretty sure it's the narrowest circuit in the country, more or less, and it's uniformly narrow as well. It doesn't get wider and narrower at different parts. It's just narrow the whole way round, and that means that overtaking really requires, on most cases at least, a mistake for the car in front of you to open the door. It's difficult to prise that door open yourself without maybe resorting to a bit of contact, which I'm sure these drivers won't feel the need to do. Mountain again. Using a bit of the curb there through the left-hander, staying well away from the big sausage curb on the right-hander though, because that will unsettle the car going up the hill. And if ever there was a sequence of corners that you don't want to be unsettling the car through, it's through the mountain and the Hall Bends at Cadwell Park. You can see why this circuit has gained its nickname as the mini Nürburgring, the UK's answer to the Nürburgring. It's exceptionally tight, technical, lots of undulation, lots of blind corners, and perhaps the thing it has most in common with the Nordschleife is that it is very unforgiving. If you go off, the barriers are very close by. There's no gravel traps, there's certainly no tarmac runoff areas, but the drivers enjoy that. They enjoy the challenge that that presents. You're not going to get away with a moment here without doing some damage to your car, as we saw for Richard Ford in the first race when he had that rotation at the first corner. It was a fairly harmless spin, but unfortunately it did a lot of damage. This then the fight for second place in the Twin Sparks, and it's side by side here. Andrew Bork and James Ford side by side, and Bork is going to go through, dives around the outside. That gives him the inside line for Charlie's, and he will now try and set off after Tom Hill. But you can see the white car in the background there. That is Tom Hill, your Twin Spark leader, and there the three-way fight for second place comes through, with now Andrew Bork into second position. For second place overall though, it is still the red, white and green number 79 car of Dave Messenger, fending off Paul Webster, who's looking more and more anxious to get this move done now. I think he feels he's quicker, but he just can't quite find a gap. He's looking to the inside down at Mansfield. So tempting to run the car up the inside, but that will almost certainly end in contact. At the very least, you're going to hold each other up on the exit of the corner, and in the end, it is Messenger that hangs on. This is a brilliant battle though between the two of them. It's allowing Graham Seeger to pull away, but in a way they won't really be too bothered about that, because this is still for the class lead, and that is very much their priority this weekend. They know that Seeger in the drive will have the pace in theory to pull away and win the races overall, but for the Power Trophy element, it is an awful lot tighter. Through the hairpin they go. We're missing this weekend a few of the traditional Power Trophy front runners. For example, the Gary Miller Abarth Punto that's been out early on in the season. Scott Austin's 155 is not here either. So we're missing quite a few of the traditional heavy hitters in the Power Trophy, which is a shame, but it's allowing us to see some other drivers get into the podium positions. James Ford, excuse me, down to third now in the Twin Spark Cup. James Ford making his first appearance of the season this weekend, got that really strong second place yesterday, but now in danger perhaps of falling out of the podium places, because the orange number 6 car of Simon Creswell is in close attendance there, 4th position. As the two cars round Chris Curve, head towards the gooseneck once again. Through the left-hander, down the hill. Hard on the brakes, you've got to brake a lot earlier than you think you do there, because it is so steeply downhill. Getting the cars stopped is not easy. These are not the lightest of cars either. They go through a bit of dieting before they hit the racetrack. They strip out all of the non-essential items inside the cars, but they still are fairly substantial machines, which take a bit of stopping and a bit of manoeuvring around this technical circuit. And one way that you can help the cars rotate through the corners is by using the curbs, and that is very much what James Ford is doing. He's throwing that number 23 car around with wild abandon. It's spectacular to watch, but I'm not really convinced it's gaining him any time, although he will gain a bit of ground on Andrew Bork now, because Andrew just outbraked himself at the hairpin. That might just allow those two to get a bit closer. Yes, it has. Headlights ablaze for James Ford as well, so he feels that he's quick enough to find a way back into second place here in the tow as they come across the start-finish line. These cars very evenly matched. The championship coordinators do a great job of regulating the cars, making sure that there's no advantage really within each individual class at least. And it all comes down to the drivers, and James Ford was the quicker of these two drivers out of Charlie's that time. He was also the quicker of these two drivers in qualifying, albeit by a tenth and a half, so not a huge amount to choose between the two of them. And that is being borne out again in this race as James Ford throws everything he's got here at Andrew Bork to try and get back into second place in the Twin Spark Cup. But every move that he goes for that doesn't work delays him and drops him further into the clutches of Simon Cresswell. It's always so difficult to be the middle driver in a trio, because you're attacking and defending at the same time. I thought for a moment maybe James was going to have an attack on the inside at Mansfield, but again, the car's evenly matched in a straight line, and also evenly matched under braking, it would seem, because he wasn't able to brake any later than Andrew Bork was. Carried more speed off the corner though, and Bork feeling the need to defend into the mountain. Now that is far from ideal, because it will really compromise your exit speed, so in theory, the advantage could be with Ford on the exit, but he's a bit scrappy as well. So no real ground gained. If anything, he once again falls a bit closer now to Simon Cresswell's orange machine behind. As you can see, these cars beautifully prepared, beautifully turned out though. A lot of care and attention goes into the preparation of these cars by the drivers and the teams respectively. The Scuderia Bianco squad, for example, running James Ford's car, they're one of the most experienced teams in Alfa Romeo racing in the UK. They will see now that their man has just dropped a little bit further back from Bork once again, so he's got some work to do. There's no doubt that at certain parts of the circuit, James Ford is quicker, but you can be sometimes a second a lap quicker than somebody else and just not able to find a way past them because of the narrow nature of this circuit. You see Ford is perhaps got that car set up a little bit softer at the rear as well. It is really oversteery, but it seems quite manageable. Quick in a straight line as well. Look, with that toe up the hill, he closed right in, but get to the inside again through Park Corner. And then back through Chris Curve again towards the gooseneck. Really spectacular part of the circuit there as the cars appear into view, sliding out to the edge of the road, but hopefully not over it. And then onto the brakes again. You never get a moment to relax around this circuit, especially when you're in a battle like this one, where there are millimetres separating front and rear bumpers, and one mistake for Andrew Bork here particularly could cost him 2 positions, because you have to imagine that if James Ford opens the door, then Simon Cresswell is going to be fairly eager to follow him through it. I love watching these cars through that first part of the Hall bends, particularly the red car there, the third place in class, James Ford. Back to the Power Trophy leaders now. Dave Messenger still keeping Paul Webster at bay by much the same margin as he has been for most of this race, really. These two dropping now well over 10 seconds behind, racing with Graham Seeger, who is at times lapping 2 and a bit seconds quicker than them. Seeger's personal best lap that he just did last time around was 1:45.0. These two have personal bests in the mid-47s, so over 1.5 seconds quicker potentially per lap is Graham Seeger, and that is why he has disappeared from view. But that is no doubt being caused somewhat, at least, by the fact that Dave Messenger is having to defend from Paul Webster, who was 0.2 quicker than him on the previous lap. So closing in, and in fact now trying to go around the outside. This is brave. Will he find room on the exit? No, not quite, but he ducks back to the inside line again. Paul Webster having a real go at this now, weaving around in the mirrors, trying to force a mistake out of Dave Messenger. In theory, you can go around the outside at Mansfield, but it's very difficult to do, and you require quite a bit of compliance from the driver you're overtaking. The same goes for a move into the Hall bend, which is, I think, what Paul Webster was considering there. But Dave Messenger really slowing the pace down now as he tries to focus on defending this class lead. Both giving up any hope of keeping up with the GTV of Graham Seeger in front of them. It's all about winning the Power Trophy now, and they are within less than half a car length once again as they come out of the final corner, drop down the hill onto the pit straight. Still no way through, and onto the final lap of this race they go. So Paul Webster running out of time to do this now. Graham Seeger, your race leader there, is in absolute loneliness now in front of the field. There's no one around him. He has checked out at the front of the field, and whereas he won yesterday's race by less than 2 seconds, and indeed for the majority of the race had an advantage of less than 1 second until Dave Messenger mysteriously dropped back on the final lap. Paul Webster this time around has kept Dave Messenger honest and allowed the GTV of Seeger to pull away. It looks like being a double victory here from Cadwell Park, which will do Graham Seeger's championship hopes the world of good, especially since he missed the first couple of rounds. Let's hope that Graham's around for the rest of the season though, because this GTV is exceptionally quick, as we're seeing this weekend, and I for one would like to see him go up against the likes of Barry McMahon's 156 and the Lancia Delta of Richard Thurman, who is, as I said, not here this weekend, but has had a race victory this season in the modified class, and indeed the outright victory at Snetterton it was last time out. So it'd be fascinating to see how those cars stack up against this GTV, which clearly is working well this weekend at Cadwell Park. Through the final 2 corners he comes, and momentarily he will see the checkered flag to take the victory in round number 6 of the BRSCC Alfa Romeo Championship. Graham Seeger will win both races here at Cadwell Park. A sublime drive that was in the second of the races this weekend. What is happening for second? Is it still Dave Messenger, or has Paul Webster finally been able to find a way through? I don't think he has. There's some way behind the race leader. Dave Messenger there crosses the line in second place. Paul Webster is third, and Tom Hill in 4th place is going to win the Twin Spark Cup again. So Graham Seeger, Dave Messenger and Paul Webster your top 3. Tom Hill wins the Twin Sparks ahead of Andrew Bork and James Ford. Stephen Creswell still there, 4th place in class with Stephen O'Brien, and Martin Jones bringing up the rear of the Twin Sparks. Then Keith Waite and Richard Ford, sadly, another non-finish.
Graham, a lovely drive out there in the fantastically prepared GTV, and really you just walked away with it.
Yeah, it is a fantastic drive. The Peak Alpha GTV is just absolutely phenomenal. Yes, it's disappointment there weren't more modified cars out today, but you know, driving around Cadwell is just phenomenal. It is one of the best circuits in the country. A glorious day as well. Yeah, what's not to like? You know, it almost might have been spoilt by a race. Who knows?
Certainly early on in the race, it looked like David and Peter in the Power Trophy cars were trying to keep up with you, but halfway through you managed to find the legs and just get away from them.
Yeah, just need to get into rhythm with the tyres, get the rear tyres warm particularly. They take a lot of warming up, and so I just controlled and gapped it sort of thing until I was settled and happy that I had the speed, and then just did it.
David, when we spoke to you yesterday, you were hoping for rain, and it's dried out a bit, but you still managed to hold Paul off and come away with second place.
Yeah, I was a bit nervous about going out on slicks because I only raced on slicks once before at Brands Hatch. But yeah, again, it was a case of following Graham, I think, and seeing where he's braking, what he's doing, learning quickly. I managed to hold on to him for 3 or 4 laps, and then it was for the rest of the race, it was defending against Paul, who was right behind me, right to the finishing line.
Certainly a few times coming up through the S's and heading into the mountain, it looked like he was trying to make an attack on you, and you just kept him at bay.
Yeah, full defence mode, I'm afraid, so it worked, yeah.
Well, that's the important thing. It worked, and you've come away with the trophy.
Thank you very much.
Paul, yesterday was wet. Today it's been dry, and although you were quicker, you just couldn't quite get past Dave.
No, he's a lot more experienced than I am, and I think he was in full defence mode, I think he put it, but he defended every corner. I was on his bumper pretty much for the whole 9 or 10 laps, however many it was. It was one of my best races, I think, in hindsight, but very disappointing I didn't get past him. I think if I could have got past him, I would have pulled away. I was a lot quicker than him, but it's how it is.
Certainly coming through the chicane, coming up into the mountain, into the S's, it looked like you were really close to him and were trying to find a way through, but is it just the case here that it's so tight, the room wasn't available?
Yeah, he just took the inside every time. You know, you've got to go on the grass to get on the inside, and it's still a little bit damp out there, and you just can't get any traction. I got outside of him down the gooseneck probably 3 or 4 times in a row and got my nose ahead of him, but he's got the inside, and you just can't do anything. So just tailing him, hope he makes a mistake, but he didn't. So it was a good race for him.